Plugins on here, starting with multi-band dynamics. This OTT preset is pretty close to what we're already looking for. We just have to change a few parameters in here. Obviously, this is such an extreme multi-band compression preset that we're only going to use this at about 30% on the wet-dry amount. And then the rest of it is just going to be moving these things. If you hold your mouse over the end of it, you see it turns into the bracket tool. So you're just going to drag it all the way up to the end without letting go, then drag it back a little bit and then let go. And I'm going to do the same thing all the way to the end just to get rid of that blue one, and then just a little bit behind this. And let's hear what I always low cut my vocals to fit. I have an easier time picking the right point if I start too high and bring it back down than if I were to start low. We're looking for the point at which it starts to sound natural again. Going to be just around 200 for this vocal. Within this recording, there are going to be some frequencies that just don't sound good, and we're going to make sure our vocal is soloed, and we're just going to start sweeping through the frequencies, and we're going to be listening for the ones that are ringing. They're all going to sound like they're ringing a little bit, but we're going to listen for the ones that are ringing louder than the others. Like right there, that kind of jumps out at me right there. So we're just going to dip that one around 3, and then let's move on to the next one. Turn our Q all the way up. Very infrequently do I find none. Once in a while, I need to get another EQ just because I keep finding more. What these are the overtones. And by ducking the overtones, we are making space in the mix for the frequencies that we do want by just cleaning out all the ones that we don't, which will in turn just give us a louder finished product. It is time to compress this a little bit more. Sir, if you don't have Waves or UAD or anybody else who makes an 1176 style compressor, you could probably get very similar results just from the glue compressor in Ableton. Use this to add some compression and some character. But I don't know how. Turn the ratio up to 8:1. We're going to do a slow attack and a faster release. And next we're going to follow it up with an LA2A style compressor. I still use this as a plugin because it is a great final like limiter or just shave off the peaks kind of. And now after running it through all these compressors, it kind of builds up a little bit more low end. So we're just going to do a shallow roll off on the low end around the same spot, 200. A lead vocal is usually mono, so to kind of force this back into mono, I use this utility to just take either the left or right channel only, same thing.
But even though I've just mentioned hundreds of dollars of equipment, that you could even use the microphone built into your MacBook if you really wanted to. I'm just talking here from my experience on what I prefer to use, but like I say, you could go and use any cheaper stuff to achieve almost the same thing. So I've recorded in the first take of this vocal, and I've thrown on my vocal rack. Inside my vocal rack, I'll show you guys what's in here. We have a gate, which basically gets rid of the sound under a certain volume, so they don't make it through. So it's just nice and silent. If there's any noise in the room or anything, it won't get picked up. This is my golden secret to getting good vocals right here, and it's a Waves plugin, and it's called the Maserati VX1. I don't know what it does exactly. I think it's a combination of compression, EQing, maybe some multi-band compression. I throw it on with the compression turned up a bit, bass turned down, but it just seems to be the most ideal thing. An EQ here with an EQ shape, more cutting than anything else. We have a tiny touch of OTT, which can be controlled from this macro here. And then we have some EQ, the same EQ to go after it as what went into it. So that's just pre and post EQ. Okay, so now I've shown you my vocal rack, is we use a system called comping. And comping is basically where you record the same thing over and over again. You would then select your favorite phrase out of every single one of those takes. So say we liked the first word from the first take, the second word from the second take. We would then pick and choose to make the perfect take. What I'm gonna do off camera is record, let's say 3 comps, so that I can show you the comping process now. Light trails behind me. That'll do, we'll take that one. So then that one gets dragged down onto our comps channel. Let's try number 2. That's pretty good. And the last one. Let's take number 2 there. We're gonna fast forward now. I'm gonna make a comp of what we've recorded so far. To make the lead vocal stronger, what I tend to do is record exactly the same thing and have it panned left and right at the same time. And now it should sound like this. Light trails behind me. As you can hear, it sounds a lot more deliberate, and it sounds a lot more full in its sound. I'm going to consolidate all of this to one piece of audio.
So we got 3 takes that we really like. All right, so I think this take is the best one. So I'm just gonna hit Command E, and then to split it into its own piece, Command X. Let's paste it at the bottom here. Boom. And let's go listen through the rest of our takes and for the rest of the lines now. We be turning up, whoops, while we with the beat. We be turning up while we sitting down. We be turning up while we sitting down. We be turning up while we're sitting down. I actually kind of like that take, and since that was the bottom take, we're just gonna drag this over and just keep on moving through our pot. So now that we're done with all these other takes, we could just hit the number 0. Very handy keyboard shortcut here in Ableton, and we can collapse all these. And now that we got our ad-lib track, actually the only thing that I'd like to do is separate our ad-libs into their own groups. So we're gonna just duplicate this group. So now that we've got our verse separated from our ad-libs in groups, we can make some extra channels in here if we want to go over and record some more ad-libs, and they'll all be processed together. Now I also like to add a nice quarter note delay to my ad-libs. Echo is a great quarter note delay, so we're just going to drop it into this effects rack where we already have the slap effect. And let's go ahead and turn a little bit of wobble on these so they're not exactly the same. Maybe a little bit of noise too, just to add some grit to the delay. These are all just little tricks to help separate your ad-libs from your background vocals, and these can come way down in volume as well.
To my plugins, I'm gonna go and search for Nectar, and we're gonna go and select Vocal Assistant. Now I'm gonna go over here to Assistant. I'll listen to your audio and create a custom preset that fits your vocals in the mix. So that way, and we're gonna go ahead and use moderate. So the next thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna set up the pitch correction. Of course, it's important that you know like the scale that the song was played in. Now I made the sample or whatnot of that track, so I know that it is a D flat minor, and then you want to turn the correction on. So you turn on the correction by clicking on this right here. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set it to low because I wanted to capture all of the lower end of that vocal problem with that mix here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn on the gate. What I could do, you can hear that the attack is kind of like chewing up some of the vocals. So what I'm gonna do is move the attack down a little bit until that the vocals sound natural and it doesn't chop up so fast. It's important that you mess with the gate the proper way so that way you can get rid of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it with the gate and without the gate. So if I turn this off, it will turn the gate off. And here, and with the EQ, you can see the setup for what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and play. The only thing I don't like about this EQ that is suggested is that it didn't cut off these lower frequencies over here, and it's important that you do cut it off. Also, you can mess with the de-esser. The de-esser, again, is very easy to mess with. You can listen to your sibilance. He doesn't have much sibilance in his voice, which is great. Another EQ here, he's is just boosting some of the other frequencies. You can have it balance the frequency in real time. It's very good, but in the perspective of this video, it's gonna be very difficult for me to do that. Compression, just some light compression, of course. And I'm actually happy with that because I can see that my vocals are balanced perfectly. Setting up the reverb, it already set up a reverb for you. And for me, I like the reverb that's already set up, so I'm not gonna really mess with that, and I'm not gonna drown the vocals in reverbs.
Do you find it difficult to make sense of all those confusing keys on your piano?